I think there's a lot of financial goals that you can achieve over the span of a decade. And we kind of forget about those things because, I mean, life happens so fast and you're moving from one thing to the next very quickly. So in this video, I am going to share 6 financial goals that I achieved in my 20s to help you get a better understanding of what you can achieve too. Hey guys, welcome back to the Debt Free Millennials channel. I'm Justine, and this is a channel where we're all focused on crushing the debt, living payment free, crushing those financial goals. So if you're into that lifestyle, you have to click subscribe. And today I'm going to be talking about the financial goals that I achieved in my 20s. I'm going to do this in chronological order because I'm so type A like that. That's just how my brain works. So let's go back to when I was just 22 years old, working at my very first job and contributing to my first 401k retirement plan. At that time, I was just contributing 2%. Because I was never really told how much that I should be contributing to a 401k. So I thought, okay, let me start small and then I'll work my way up. So I started with 2%, and then the next year I think I increased it to 3%. And then I ended up switching jobs and I was in a mandatory 403b contribution plan at 5.5%. And that's what I kept it at, because I was working on paying off my student loans. So that's my next financial goal that I achieved. By the age of 25, I had paid off $35,000 of student loan debt in 2.5 years, making an average of just $37,000 in salary per year. So that by far is my biggest financial achievement of my 20s. Just to be able to say that I owed nobody. I didn't owe anyone anything. And that to me was financial freedom. And I couldn't believe that I was able to achieve that at the age of 25, right before I got engaged, right before I got married. And shortly thereafter, we moved from Kansas to California. I know that a lot of those things I wouldn't have been able to do and do as extravagantly. I say extravagantly, but it wasn't extravagantly. Just, being able to pay for our wedding and not feel pressured financially because I still had student loan payments. I was able to do the things I wanted to do with my wedding and move out to San Diego without any worries of debt following me. At the age of 25, also, this was a big year, I opened up my first brokerage account. So a brokerage account is basically an investing account where you can use the money whenever you want. You can put it in, you can take it out at any time with no penalties. Of course, you're going to have to pay taxes on that money when you withdraw it, but I opened my first brokerage account. The reason behind that is I was saving for some mid to long-term goals. So we had this idea that we would invest more money and maybe use that investment money later on down the road for like a new car and all of these sort of things. I think there were a few mistakes I made with opening that brokerage account, which I can cover in a later video, but still, to know I was opening up my first brokerage investing account at 25 and just kind of taking those first steps is pretty amazing. The very next year, at the age of 26, I combined my finances with my husband. So Kyle and I got married in 2015, and before that, it was just me and my finances. I had a savings account and I had a checking account, and that was it. We had talked about when we were engaged that we would work on combining our finances together, and that's a really big step. If you've ever talked to your significant other or think back to those conversations, you're putting a lot of trust into somebody else and saying that there's no longer a division of my money and your money. Now it's our money, and together we are pooling our resources because we know this will make a much more significant impact on our financial goals rather than working separately. We're going to join forces together. So that was a really big step. At the age of 27, the very next year, I discovered index funds. Now, Kyle claims that he was the one who told me about it. Maybe he did. Honestly, I remember reading it in Ramit Sethi's book, I Will Teach You to Be Rich. He talks about index funds in a section of that book, and I was like, what the heck am I doing? So I looked up a whole bunch of stuff. We had bought a book, The Little Book of Common Sense Investing by John Bogle, who is the founder of Vanguard and really kind of the king of index funds. And my investing world just got so much bigger because I realized that these index funds were charging the smallest amount of fees over any other mutual fund out there. And the whole buy and hold for the long run, I loved that idea. It simplified the investing concept for me. It made me feel confident that I was with a company that was going to keep my best interests at heart, and a company that I believed in, and I want that company to earn money too. So this really is a partnership. I am so thankful that I found index funds. I have a whole video on Vanguard index funds. If you're interested, I will link to that so you can check it out. And I highly, highly recommend 2 books on index funds: The Little Book of Common Sense Investing and The Simple Path to Wealth by J.L. Collins. These books are phenomenal, easy to read, short, and will convince you that index funds are the way to go. I will also link to those books in the description below if you want to check that out. At the age of 27, in addition to finding index funds, Kyle and I had bought our very first car together in cash. We paid $25,000 in cash for a 2015 Subaru Forester. This is not a glamorous car. This isn't even our debt-free dream car, to be honest. That's for another video. But this was a car that we said we were interested in keeping long-term, think like 10 years. And this was a car that we knew would be practical for us and for Kyle to use as his daily driver. And so we ended up saving for that car. I want to say it took us maybe 2-3 years to save for that amount. And we walked into a dealership and just was like, how much? And we negotiated that price and walked away with the car. I'm simplifying the story because you guys know working with car dealerships is just a nightmare. But this is exactly what we said. And I love getting into the mindset of saying how much instead of what are the payments. You got to break that habit of saying what are the payments. If you want to live a debt-free millennial lifestyle, you have to ask how much, and that is what you're working towards. Okay, so from my humble beginnings of starting my very first 401k to paying $25,000 in cash for a car that is going to last us a very long time, and everything in between, combining our finances, investing habits, becoming debt-free, my 20s was just really an incredible decade for my finances and for a lot of things too. But it's just really cool to reflect back on these achievements and say, like, look how far you've come. And you guys know when you're in your 20s, a lot of change happens. I mean, you're going from graduating college, becoming 21, being able to drink legally for the first time, to getting married, investing, paying off debt. That's a lot of change in a 10-year span. And I think you have to approach each year with fresh eyes, new opportunity, and go seek those things out. And don't be afraid to pull in your support system along the way. That could be a significant other, a friend, a family member, or right here on YouTube. You have a whole community dedicated to helping you achieve your financial goals. So if you're into that and this sounds appealing to you, then you definitely have to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and if you really want to get deep on the conversations, then join me and thousands of others inside of the Debt Free Millennials Facebook group. The link to that is below. It's private, confidential, and we're having a ton of really good money conversations inside of that group. Okay, there you have it. For more information on how to live a debt-free lifestyle, be sure you check out my other videos on the Debt Free Millennials channel.